to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting called to order.
I don't know. No, he didn't miss it.
Vegas was fine. Kevin?
Here.
Nicole?
Here.
Bob?
Here.
Tom? Here. Rod?
Here. Any comments from the audience? Yes, George.
I'm kind of curious on, has anybody applied for any grants for Galvin and Scott Road project coming up?
Galvin and Stott.
Yeah, because you're going to be doing something or other with both of them roads, aren't you? And then
You're leaving Galvin and Van.
Oh, Galvin, man, okay, I'm sorry. No?
Man is underway, or yes, man is underway, Galvin, no.
Is it, you're planning on doing something with Galvin though, aren't you?
From where to where?
I don't know, I ain't in charge of the roads, I just drive on the goddamn thing.
I guess, what area are you talking about? What am nothing's in the plan to do anything with Galvin right now, no.
Okay, then we'll say
And-
nothing going on with Galvin. Okay.
Correct.
Right from the highway guy, right?
Yes.
All right. Okay, the other one is, has the fire department applied for any grants? Because there's a ton of grants out available that I found out. Has anybody from the fire department applied for any grants to buy, put money towards these compressors and whatever, all this stuff that you guys are planning on buying?
Well, one opened up today, and when I get to my section, I'll ask the board for permission to apply, but one opened up today, so.
Okay, but in the past, there's been grants available, right?
Yeah, Patty applied for one last year, just before Deb got out of office. Didn't you, Patty? The
Yeah.
last time?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did attempt at one. So
It's a really good idea, I think, take the burden off of the taxpayers and get on top of this, if there's grants available. You know, instead of sitting with our thumbs and worrying about eating over there and get with the program on this stuff. Okay, one other thing I think is, now, on the 18th, we've got the budget meeting. And I'm kind of curious, if the budget doesn't go the way you guys want, mainly you three, are you guys gonna have a budget do-over like we did 3 years ago? Are you planning on that?
It depends upon what goes on at the budget hearing.
Which means what?
I mean, if it's a slash to the point of that we cannot operate the township, there may be a do-over.
That's a crock. That is a crock. Because 3 years, listen up, I'm talking, 3 years ago, when your mentor, when she was the chairman, and she had this budget do-over, remember you were doing all the scare tactics and bullying and all? What?
She is not the chair, I am.
I know that, unfortunately you
And
are.
no one knows what's gonna happen at that meeting until after that meeting is done.
I understand that, but I just want to know, is that what you're planning? Is that you
So
figure
someone
if it doesn't
says-
go
if
your
someone-
way?
My way? If it
Yes.
doesn't go my way?
Yes.
No, my way has nothing to do with it. As I had stated,
In essence,
if
you would.
if the taxes end up getting cut for some reason to the point where we cannot operate, yes. There may be a do-over, there may be a bring-up. But as long as it's within reason, no, there will not be one.
Okay, all right, I can live with that. Okay, but don't come along with this crap about how that we can't operate, okay? Because that's what Carolyn, when she was the chairman with that budget do-over thing, that's what she was yapping about. They had on WDLB, they had in the Buyer's Guide about how we're gonna have to go without fire protection, no road being plowed. At the do-over meeting, there was a gal that was a school teacher. She was from the Philippines or wherever the hell she was. And she was almost crying because she says, what if they don't plow these roads? Now that's how bad they scared her. You two know anything about this do-over? Were you guys around when that? Oh, it was just wonderful. Ask your chairman about that. He can fill you in because he was there. I mean, it was a joke. It was an absolute joke. And I'll tell you what happened was that board was a bunch of crybabies that didn't get their way. That's what it amounted to. And the good people in this township, they voted against this and voted it down, because that budget was way over the top, way over the top. Make sure you ask him about that. Or you can ask me that sometime. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for me. Yeah, I think that's it for me.
Yes, Steve?
Patty last week approached me and mentioned the fact that several of the board members had concerns about the funding for the man road. We don't have a nickel set aside. There are no funds set aside for that.
Okay. Is there anything to look forward, for a question for Steve on that, or wait till this? Okay. Yes,
If George is aware of grants for roads and fire department, maybe he should submit them to Patty for review, if it's appropriate for the town.
The fire department's one that applies for that, and it's the FEMA AFG grant.
Okay, I mean, he seemed to know a lot about them, so I think that it would be.
The only reason I got that knowledge is because of my wife.
It would be helpful for him to share that information with the.
Hey, listen
people that
up.
are writing grants.
Hey, the only reason I got that knowledge is because of my wife. She knows about that stuff.
anything else, John?
No, that's it.
Thank you. Yes?
I see tonight's the night to adopt the comp plan or not, and I hope you do. I've been working on my section since February 19th, and it's been back and forth, and I know a lot of you are new and old, so you don't know the whole history, but it's been a long time, and I know it's probably never gonna be perfect, because a lot of changes in 15 years, because it's supposed to be done every 10, supposedly, what it's been. As Dom and Jeff says, this is a living document. It can be changed 3 months, 6 months, a year. I was hoping you could adopt it, and I could at least move on after 3 years, and then if there's more changes, 6 months, a year, you can look at it and make the changes again. So I'm just hoping that that goes through, so I don't wait another year, because I know what happens if it gets turned back. Planning and zoning, it's 2 months, 3 months, back to you, another open house, back to county, it's summer again. So I'm just asking politely, I guess, to consider it.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a comment on that too. You're Barry Peterson, right? Yeah. Now, he's been, you guys have been dicking around with this thing forever, and, with him. And also you got Larry Schreier, I think he's involved in that, and he needs that comp plan approved. Larry Weigel, he's also involved in that. So, do something. This should have been done. I mean, you guys seem to forget that you're supposed to be working for the residents of this township. You're not just working for you three. That's wrong.
Sorry, you see it that way, George.
You what?
I'm sorry, you see it that way,
That's the way I see it.
because that's not what it is.
Want me to get into the Jeff Hill thing again?
Yeah, sure, let's do that.
Okay, I
Get it
found
off
out.
your chest.
I found out that, remember last time I said that you guys were not Jeff Hill friendly? I'll stick with that. All three of you were against Jeff Hill, I don't care what you guys say. And, when my wife was the chairman, the last board, it was up to April, and all they had to do was rezone to rural residential from farmland preservation, I believe. And that was in April. Okay, that was the previous board. And that was through, Rita Blanker owned that, and then she sold it to Jeff Hill. I'm not sure when, probably June. So from that point forward, from whenever that was sold, you guys should have been on top of this, and you weren't. You were so worried about that somebody's gonna make $1 and then, you guys are pathetic.
George, that's not accurate. It's not.
It's my opinion.
Right.
This is America, I can still have my opinion.
Yes, you're entitled.
You don't have to like it, I
But you
don't
can't-
care.
Yeah, you're propagating a bunch of.
You and I are never
lies.
gonna be friends.
That's your choice, George.
That
I'm
it
trying to
is.
explain to you my position, as well as I think the board's position. We did not want to put Jeff Hill in an unfavorable position, because one of the residents that's within 300 feet of there could have shut him down. And then who's gonna be liable for his losses? It would have been the township citizens.
Then why,
Who would have been facing the
answer me
losses.
this one, then why did the county say okay it? Why did the DNR okay it?
County okayed the rezoning. Subdivisions, if you read the laws, fall under the township, and we are required to follow the subdivision
Is that
guidelines.
your ordinance manual that you're waving around like Moses with the Ten Commandments last time, or is it?
It's what we have to go by, yes,
Okay.
and what the county says. And the
Okay.
county said, yes, we have to follow this process, and we as a township had to hold that public hearing, and we had to notify the residents within 300 feet in writing, which is what the board should have done back in April, and they didn't do it.
Bullshit! That
Get
was,
this meeting under control. This is enough.
yeah, you better get out your little manual ordinance and start reading about how you're supposed to conduct yourself. Ethics, bud, ethics. You ever hear of that? ETHICS.
I am.
Yes, Deb?
Jeff Hill did not even own it when I was on the board. That was Rita Blinker that came for the rezone. When Jeff Hill, and it was not approved by the county until
I'm
May.
not talking
So
about-
the subdivision is all on you guys. That was not on the previous board. All we approved was the rezone for Rita Blinker. None of the plats had come through yet, none of it. So when you're sitting there saying it was the previous board, you're wrong on that one.
That's passing the buck. That's all it is.
Because Jeff Hill did not even own it at that time.
Do you know when Jeff Hill bought that, by any chance?
No, I don't.
I don't either, but you guys should know this.
Why should we know when a piece of property is being
Because,
sold?
because you're the board, you're the chairman, you're the guy that was gonna oversee everything in McMillan, right? Ain't that what you said at the very first meeting? You're overseeing everything.
I believe, Rod, that you knew about the subdivision going in from Jeff Hill when you went to a joint plan commission meeting for Marshfield, am I correct? Joint planning?
Yes.
Discussed it there?
Yes.
That was in June, I believe.
Yes, that would be June.
Okay.
But Jeff Hill had not brought anything formally to the board, and I was instructed
Or the
that until
previous
something's
board.
brought to the board's attention and stuff is submitted to us for paperwork, he has the right to pull back. So us to spend time at our meetings figuring out what he's gonna try to do until he submits something,
I
It's
agree
not our
with you
job.
100%. I agree. But to sit there and say that it was the previous board that were dragging their feet on this is totally wrong.
I don't believe that anybody dragged their feet on any of this, on this particular subject with the Hill project. I just believe that things got going slowly, it got to the board late, and so things were cleaned up. That's all it is. That's my opinion.
From my perspective, I think it was a little bit muddy, because the way it's written and the way the county made it clear to us was that the plan commission was supposed to hold that public hearing that the clerk was supposed to arrange.
Or they could let it lapse and it would pass anyway.
The attorney advises that that's not the right way to do it, because that's not
But
the
you gave,
ethical
that
way
was
to
one
do
of your options.
Yes,
it. It was an option.
Yep.
it was.
Because it was getting late. Because you guys, in reality, were notified late. That when you can send back to Brilliant.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Don, did you wish to speak tonight?
Try to keep it brief. Got a few handouts for the board as well. I can follow up with an email with some of this information. So as you're aware, there is a list of parcels that is being proposed to be rezoned within the town of McMillan. I think it's approximately, I want to say 90 or so parcels, about 1,200 acres.
Those 1954 are the ones that, 50 some were the ones we weren't aware of? That
Correct. So on the top here, you'll see the list that was supplied by the town board, and the bottom list is the list that was supplied to us by DATCAP. Essentially, there was an error when.
Don, if you have a spare one, can you get one to Dorothy back there? I don't think she has that.
No problem.
Thank you.
So as previously discussed, that is the list that was supplied to us. The vast majority of those parcels, I think with the exception of one, are currently in the Farmland Preservation Zoning District. And on the right-hand column, that is the proposed zoning district. So there are some that you'll see, the vast majority are going to the general agricultural district, with some that are going to a residential district.
And all these people are aware?
they will be notified as a part of the process. This is
Will be.
correct. There's nothing set in stone yet. This is still in the preliminary phases. My handout next is just a map identifying all of those parcels. And again, that bottom list, those parcels should have never been zoned farmland preservation in the first place. They were not included in the farmland preservation plan in 2013. So as a part of this, we're just updating the zoning district map to incorporate the list that was supplied by the town, as well as the list by DACAP and our conservation staff.
2013, you said?
2013, correct. So you'll see there's the map there, as well as the list. So this is the list that we would want to get finalized by the town board. As you're aware, the top list is supplied by you, so you should be aware of those. But the other list is one that was mandated by DACAP, given it shouldn't have been zoned that way in the first place. And that's where there is a little bit of flexibility in regards to what zoning district those goes to. So with that, I met with our planning staff. I apologize for all the handouts. And proposed the zoning districts in question for those parcels that could be, LVR or RR or RE. And essentially our rationale behind the proposal was to keep the proposed zoning district consistent with adjacent lands. Gonna get my steps in here, that's good. So essentially with that, there's nothing, obviously we're not on the agenda for this meeting, just wanted to supply that list to you. And as a part of the process, the property owners will be notified, and as you'll see on that map, there is a 300-foot buffer. So by statute, all of those property owners will be notified as well. It's going to be a logistical challenge when it comes to all the mailings, everything like that. But that is something that will move forward, and as you're aware, as on board, this proposed change to the zoning district map will make the zoning district map consistent with the proposed future land use map of the comprehensive plan, or at least partially consistent with it. And the last document I'm handing out here is just another reminder that we supplied this document to the town a few months ago. Essentially, this goes through just a rough overview of the process of updating the comprehensive plan as well as that zoning district map. So it could be approved, just like I talked with you on the phone this morning, Rob, that the zoning district map could go first, the comp plan could go first. It's just a matter of preference for the town. There are some statute requirements, just like the comprehensive plan, to go through notifying property owners, public hearings, everything like that. So, like I said, the list on the bottom, those property owners aren't notified yet, but that was a list that was supplied to us by DACAP, and as a part of that process, they will be notified. But the top list, everyone I think came to the town, so they should be aware. So I'm working with our current director and our planner to kind of come up with a process to ultimately have some sort of educational meetings to present to these town residents that, I guess just to explain why they're being rezoned. And a lot of them, going from farm pres to like general agriculture or residential district, will actually allow them to do more uses that's actually less restricted. So I think it would be favorable, but I just wanted to come to the meeting and just present that and let you know I can mail this or email this out to you as well, and then possibly schedule another meeting to kind of go through everything, just to finalize that list, and then we can formally process that rezone petition.
And these people don't have the option to remain in farmland preservation?
It would be.
If they want to, they can't, right?
Correct. So currently they can't even accept credits because they are not in a farm pres area.
Okay.
So there's an error in the mapping
Okay.
8 years ago, so they shouldn't have been zoned that way in the first place, so they're just being rezoned to the next appropriate district,
Okay.
which the majority of them is going to be general ag.
And then if they have questions, once they're notified, they would be contacting?
Contacting our office, correct.
Okay. Right.
And ideally, before we even submit the rezone petition, or I should say before the town submits that rezone, they will all be notified already and they'll have a good idea of what they can and can't do on their property. If, let's say, there's a property that is zoned farmland preservation and they have agricultural uses, but it's a small lot, we will be going through and, excuse me, issuing certificates of non-conforming use for those uses, so someone's not restricted to what they're currently doing. So if they're currently having a farm use or commercial use or something like that, this rezoning will not affect their current business or activities.
Did you have any questions for him?
What area is this he's talking about?
What?
What area is this in?
you get one more left?
Well, I don't want to see you just own.
It's actually throughout the township. The vast majority are on the western, southwestern portion of the town. And I guess on that map there, you'll see those residential districts in tan. Pretty much all of those teal areas that are zoned permanent preservation, they shouldn't have been zoned that way in the first place. But there are a few scattered parcels throughout the town that will be proposed to be rezoned as a part of that.
Don, will this change the 80% required for farmland preservation for the township?
That's a good question. So essentially with this proposed revision, that bottom list of, I believe it's 930 or so acres, that will not affect that 80% rule because it's not taken into account because it shouldn't have been zoned that way in the first place. But with the other list, there will be a reduction. So you'll get closer to that 80%, but you won't exceed.
You'll still stay above it?
Correct.
So this won't affect anybody in the agricultural enterprise areas?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Just one, with what you gave us here tonight, if we accept the comp plan, does that complicate moving forward with this? Or, I mean, what is, I mean, in your opinion, as the county with moving through all of that, is it better to hold this a little bit for a month or so until we get this straightened around and then move this forward, or move this forward and then move into this and then move back to that?
Yeah, so essentially it really depends because just like the comprehensive plan is a town process and it's a town document, the county is just here to help facilitate discussions and go through the appropriate processes. So the town could adopt it as is. I know we supplied some documents and some comments in the past few months, as well as I know 2 weeks ago we reiterated those comments. The town ultimately has the choice to adopt those, incorporate them or not. But if you wanted to make the zoning district maps more consistent with the future land use maps, you could hold off. But again, they don't have to be exact. And it's something that in the future, if there's a proposed development or anything like that, especially along that Highway 97 corridor, you can always reopen the zoning district map and or the comprehensive plan. So it's really up to the board if they wanted to adopt the comprehensive plan as it is and then look to make revisions in the near future. Because I know with some of the comments we made, especially in regards to the Highway 97 corridor and that designation, it may make some rezones to residential districts a little more difficult because it would require the town to reopen their comprehensive plan and then address that area specifically. There are a few things in the comprehensive plan too that should be addressed. For one, I think one of the classifications in the future land use map identifies exclusive agriculture, and that is no longer a zoning district or a program, that is now farmland preservation. So that was one of our comments as well. But there are other things in there, just like that 97 corridor, addressing potential commercial or mixed use, because that would keep it a little more broad for future uses. But it's ultimately up to the town board if we wanted to adopt a comprehensive plan now and then work through the process of rezoning those lands. Because the comp plan just identifies, I guess, the town's input, or it guides the town when it comes to future land use choices, whereas the zoning district map is the regulatory document that identifies what can and cannot be done. Excuse me.
I got a question for you. If the board adopts this comprehensive plan tonight, can guys like Perry Peterson and other two that I mentioned, can they go forward with what they want to do then, or what?
So the difference between that is the comprehensive plan is a gallery document. The zoning district map, once the zoning district map is revised, if it is approved as it is proposed, then he would be able to move forward.
So if they approve it tonight, then he can go forward?
No, they would still have to go through the rezoning process because the comprehensive plan just shows that that property should be this way. The zoning district revision actually changes those regulations and that classification.
Okay, and rezoning shouldn't be a big deal, should it?
It's essentially it's a petition by the town, so I don't anticipate any issues because the main reason.
That's looking, we got it there.
So.
Okay. All right,
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from the visitors? Approval of the town board minutes from October 11th.
Motion to approve October 11th, 2021 minutes.
Second that.
Any discussion? Since there's no discussion, I have a motion and a second to approve the October 11th minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Ayes have it. Approved. Approval of town board special meeting minutes, October 12th, 2021.
Make a motion to October 12th. Those appointed.
I second that.
Any discussion? I have a motion and a second to approve the special board meeting minutes for October 12th, 2021. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Ayes have it. Minutes approved. Reports, Planning Commission, Dorothy.
Well, we had our meeting on the October 25th, and we discussed having the ability to use telephone or media if we have a commissioner missing. And because it worked so good when Dominic did it when they had the public meeting here, way to go. We liked it. Anyways, we discussed it and we approved of it unanimously, that any commissioner can keep in contact by phone, emails, but phone will be mandatory, and this will be brought up at every one of our meetings, so that it's always current. Because with COVID, with everything else that's happening in the country, I think it's good. Second, we did approve the CUP, the BOA for the CUP for Kenneth Edwards at 207-521 Stott Avenue. We also approved the one for Alvin and Marianne Burkle at 202-405 Stott Avenue.
Yeah, I do have a question on using a telephone or whatever for one of the commissioners to
So they could be
be at
present.
the meeting. Is there any rules or how many it can be that way,
You're still gonna have to have a quorum.
okay? Is there anything else that's, so basically it's just gonna be a phone, you can set it up here and,
Yep.
because I know that it worked out with Dominic, but I also know that Russ tried it when he was in Arizona once, and that was kind of questionable. And my concern isn't so much that people don't see the individual here, but if there's comments made or things made, Russ had a hard time that night of hearing what was going on. And I don't want commissioners, or even if it would come to the board doing the same thing, that they don't hear your voices and they do it the way that they thought 2 hours ago.
I would expect any commissioner, if they cannot hear or to ask the question, to do come back and ask.
I guess what I'm thinking of is I think we need to do better than a cell phone sitting up here. I think we need to, as a board or as a community, we need to figure out what would work better than placing a cell phone on the deal up here and trying to hear back and forth. I'm not necessarily against you guys one person calling in if they're out of town or whatever, because I know that it can happen to the board here. But I think it needs to be the same for all of our boards, if it can be.
Well, that's what you as a town board decide to do, but this is what we had talked about and passed at our level. And like I said, it was so good to have Dominic come in on the meeting and the other one stood there. I mean, it worked. You were all present at that meeting. You had your questions answered.
I guess I'd like to probably run it past the lawyer.
I did that today.
Okay.
There's nothing in the ordinance that restricts the plant commission from allowing a phone call. It's been done well before COVID and it's accepted everywhere. The board, without an ordinance and without a current policy and procedure manual, does not have the ability to tell the commission how to run their meetings, because the commission is under the same rules as the board.
Okay.
That's what he told.
Anybody else have any questions on that? Okay, garbage recycling, Bob?
Don't really have any new information, other than, the rates for next year are going up. I think the total for garbage is gonna be somewhere in the neighborhood of $16,000 increase for next year. And those were the prices that were part of the original contract. So that's part of the budget for next year. But that was it.
Did you have any complaints about people not getting their second recycling bin picked up? It happened to me, so I was wondering if other people had the same problem. I did call, they said they had a new hire and he missed it, but I didn't know if you had gotten any other complaints.
No, I haven't.
Bob, we do have 2 people who have extra recycling bins and they have not paid. What do we do?
Have you reached out and?
I have not called them.
Well, have we sent them a follow-up?
I resent them an invoice, yes.
Okay, I guess I could get those names and contact them.
I'll send them to you. Let me make a note.
Nicole, library.
At our library meeting, they implemented their new system. It's still a little rocky, so if you are going to the library, please be patient with them. It's a brand new system. They've adjusted well, but they are running into the bumps now. I've not had any problems since I've been there, but I just wanted everybody to be aware that that is a new system. Also, they are sending us a refund of $8,559.53. This is a one-time, I can repeat the number, 8559.53.
Thank you.
And the reason for this is they felt, because of COVID and what Marathon County Library would have charged us, they wanted to give us back that difference because they would have charged us more. Again, this is a one-time this year. It may not happen next year, but I wanted to bring that forward. They're in the process of cutting us a check. I don't know when we will get it, but I did confirm with her today. And aside from that, this is not specific to the library, but I did ask for an item to be added to the agenda that was not, regarding UTV usage. I personally plan on writing a letter to have Elm Tree considered from Elm Tree to Man Road open on Highway E. It comes from citizens, but I wanted to say if the township wanted to do that, I would also incorporate the township, but since it's not on the agenda, I won't be doing that, but I wanted everybody to be aware that's what I'm doing, so. Again, it's on my personal behalf. That's just to get to Man Road to have the highway be open to reconsider, and it's 45 miles an hour there. And the reason why they turned it down is because it has over 1,500 cars traveling on it. That's all I have.
That's a lot.
I got through in 3 minutes.
Kevin.
Town hall is now officially locked up. We pulled batteries at the wrong time, had to take care of that after one of the meetings. Thank you, Adam.
You mean the pavilion, right?
Huh?
Talking about the pavilion, you said?
Pavilion.
You said two.
I said one. Gotta get a cold light switch to put on there. We're gonna put Christmas lights in one of the windows, so if the heat, if we do have problems and it goes off, Christmas lights should pop on. I believe the unit's like 40 degrees, we can set it down to. So anybody driving past, if you see Christmas lights on in the pavilion, please contact the supervisor. Furnaces, they're gonna check the furnace here when it should be like next week, I think, now. By the time we get to that.
Heather?
Yes.
If the power's off, which is gonna kill the heat, the lights are gonna be off.
The power's not off, Dorothy.
Huh?
The power's not
No.
off.
But
Just if we have-
your furnace is still powered by electricity.
Yeah. Just if we have issues with anything. It's just,
So don't you wanna reverse that? if the Christmas lights are off, somebody let them know because the heat's off and the blower's off.
Somehow it's gotta get signaled to come on. There's gonna be like a cold weather thing that gets plugged in, a cold temperature thing. When it hits like 40, then it will send electricity through to the, I know what you're saying, but it's,
How are you gonna do that, Kevin? Are you gonna close all the vents in the big area and then just keep the vents open for the bathroom and storage area?
no.
You're gonna heat the whole thing? Why?
Because we can.
Because we can.
Okay, just asking, because I mean, you can.
I never looked to see if there was shut off vents up on top, so.
It's also that it's a block building, so if you only heat part of the block building, you're gonna probably most likely get a frost change in the building and you're gonna get cracks in the block.
Okay.
So a block building, either you heat all of it or you heat none of it. I mean, it's a kind of an all or nothing type of deal, unfortunately.
Shut-off valve was installed, they cut the blood line for Steve on the way over here. Patty's got new and ordered, or we'll have it ordered so we can get internet hooked up there on that.
We either that or we just don't collect taxes this year.
We said that was okay. That's all.
Kevin, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Where that cement slab was taken out when they ran the gas line in there?
Yes.
Did that get filled in at all?
No.
It did not get filled, it's gonna get filled in the spring.
I can't understand what you're talking
This
about.
spring,
You're gonna do it in the spring.
Don't wait, because, I got it from a reliable source. They said if you don't fill that in, you're gonna end up, frost is gonna get under and end up probably cracking the cement, the floor on the inside and whatnot.
There's a hole there now, isn't there? Is there water gathering
All
in
that
there?
is missing there right now is the cement.
Okay,
We've
so
gone
you
back
filled
in
the
twice,
hole.
we've gone in twice, and we've filled the cement, we filled the dirt in up to level with where the dirt is.
Okay,
So there's no puddle of water there that I'm aware of. I can go up and check it again this next week again. But it's been settling a little bit, and we've been filling the dirt back in and raking it around. So, and that's the reason that we didn't want to put the cement in there right away. We wanted to let that all settle and put the cement in, and hopefully we're done and we can move on. And
because I know there was a hole there, and if that fills with water, then you're talking about that seeping underneath and freezing, and that could be an issue. But if you got it filled in, that's all you really need to do.
yes. On the pavilion, the question I do have is, I know that nobody goes and visits our website, but if they do visit our website, we do have a small issue with the fact saying that the pavilion is closed. So I guess my question is, Patty, how much or how hard is it gonna be for us to change the close date on that? Is that huge for that thing, that program?
But it's closed, as I said, you just want open for rentals year round, added?
Yeah, so that people don't get the idea that we close it down in September, October, and then, I mean, because when you read it now, it looks like it's closed. And that might be also why we're not getting any rentals.
No, it wasn't a newsletter that it's available for rentals.
Right, but every place, I mean,
Yeah. You can address that when we get home.
yeah, we can do that down there too. Anything else, Kevin? Highway Tom?
Talked to one of the engineers on the bridge today, and things are coming along. They had a couple small glitches the last couple weeks here. One is they went to make a pour, and they were literally one piece of rebar short, and they had to wait a day to get it in so that they could pour. The other glitch was that they were gonna pour the deck, and the temperature was supposed to be 19 degrees that night, so they couldn't pour it. Unfortunately, it didn't hit 19 degrees and they could have poured it, but it is poured now. He wouldn't give me the exact finish date on it, but he says there's still a very good chance that they're gonna be done before Friday, before the opening of hunting. I don't know. Still a lot to do, but I don't know how fast they can finish that up. So anyway, that's all he told me. He wouldn't give me an exact. The engineer for the brickyard has information. Beerling got him information. So he's going through that in coordinates with our stuff, and he will be giving us a report hopefully by the end of the week on his thoughts on that. And then the rest of the month is basically general maintenance that we've done. Some gravel, mowing, basic general maintenance. Any questions?
Salt is over $100 a ton now.
Yeah.
Fire department, Adam?
Before you, were you able to get hold of Russ Michael? Because I talked to him on McKenna.
Nope.
And he said he's more than willing to meet with you, and he's more than willing to fix that road before it gets chip sealed. He just wants somebody to talk to him.
All he has to do is call me. He does have my number.
Okay.
I've called him and I've stopped over there.
Okay.
And I've left my number every time I call him. Is he out of town by chance, do you know?
No,
Okay,
he is around.
okay,
He is aware that does need a lift.
okay,
When he got a estimate a couple of years ago, he got two different estimates and both of them said that it did need, a lift before
Okay.
the chip seal it.
okay.
But I see in here that, reading the minutes, that they only plowed that 1 year.
Yes, last year.
Yeah, that was the first, well, in the
First time.
minutes, it says they plowed it for several years. And
No,
I plowed
last
it.
year.
I've been plowing that with a pickup,
Last year they plowed it, I believe it was twice.
yeah, twice.
Yeah.
I got more gravel on my lawn than ever.
Bring it back onto the road and put a lift down.
That's why there ain't no gravel, it's all in the ditch.
Adam? We had 4 EMS calls, 1 mutual aid, vehicle fire, and a carbon monoxide call. We have no new members at this time. Trending for November will be vehicle extrication. The ladder truck and the engine both passed the pump test for the year. The ladder has also passed the test this year as well, I think I reported that last time. The AFG, or the Assistance to Firefighters Grant, opened today. Lori would like to apply for the grant to help with the new air compressor. I don't know, you guys have to vote on that, or just the verbal yes or no, you can. Fire department members took the new snow rescue equipment to the snowmobile safety course in Stratford tonight. EMS received a few thank yous from family members of people they treated in the last few calls. Public education, November is National Alzheimer's Month. Please see our Facebook post for more information. What else I didn't get put on the report, but I just got it a little bit ago, was our profit for Fall Fest for 2021 was $14,723.51.
That's not a correct total.
That's not?
No. And your treasurer, and I went over it with Carolyn. Because there's checks in this list for Fall Fest.
Okay. Then also, we'd like to get a purchase order for a water softener and to use 2% dues to purchase breathing air tanks for the rescue, which would have been part of that, what we wanted to do with the air compressor. So we're trying to get some of the pieces this year with what we have left on our 2% dues.
Pieces to the cascade system.
Yes. Because we have some 2% due money that we can use up this year.
I think you're gonna confuse everybody, you're gonna take it step by step.
Let's do,
Motion to approve Lori to apply for the grant.
yes. The deal with applying for the grant, the one thing to remember out of this is, I don't think that the public is fully aware of it yet, but the fire department, within their group, had voted to put up to, I believe, 20,000 out
Yes.
towards the cascade and the air pump. So with that, the air compressor and the fill station. So with that, usually the grant is usually a 10% responsibility of the municipality. So if
I think
if they
this
would-
one is a 95.5.
Okay, 95.5 then with this one. So with that being, that money would care for the obligation of the township so that there would be no tax burden onto the tax roll. So we wouldn't have to raise any, we wouldn't have to make a line item or anything for it if it happens. So it should kind of be, I mean, I wouldn't say a no-brainer, but it should kind of be a no-brainer to apply for the grant because there is money there that would not affect taxes to pay for it.
So the 5% or whatever percentage you guys want to go to use would be out of Belfast funds?
Yes.
Okay. So there shouldn't be a line item or capital improvement line at all?
Correct, for that grant.
For the grant, but you're still asking for the budget for money for it, for the Cascade system, correct?
And which portion here?
The $50,000 that
The thing is,
started with.
the thing that happens with this, and Kevin uses this a lot too, the thing is if we get the grant, then that money can be rolled over and used for something else somewhere else.
Stay in the budget as a line item, as a wish list. If you get the grant, it's not spent there, then that money would be amended into, hypothetically, if it was to be.
What is this cascade system you're talking about?
Basically, it's a compressor and 4 bottles and a containment device to fill our smaller air bottles that go on our backs.
What do you do now?
We currently have a unit which last year, I don't know how long, it was out of service for a while because it pumped oil through it. They've got it fixed, it's going. It pumps up to 4,500 pounds, which is the same pressure as our bottles that we use on our backs. So in lieu of things, what we should be having is we should have a 6,000 pound system. And that's what we're looking to upgrade to and get a newer system because I believe that unit is 20 to 25 years old.
How often do they have to be refilled? I don't know when they're empty.
And that's it. It's when they're empty.
How often do you use them? Put it that way.
I mean, Nicole brought this up too with the fact that it is that, yes, we do not have a lot of fires. But once a year, the big tanks in the rescue need to be dumped and they need to be filled. They need to be filled on the unit itself, but normally we run that enough. When we do trainings and stuff, you have, I don't know, anytime we can get somebody in a breather, we try to get them in a breather so they get accustomed to it, so they're used to it, so that when they are in the thick of it, if you will, that they are comfortable with the breather and they're not trying to take it off. And you need to use breathers to do that. And I know that as soon as, because I know Nicole had brought it up, and there's nothing wrong with it, but we'll buy air. And the city had used to buy air. And that means that you get tanks from Northern Welding or someplace like that, and that's what you have. But what ends up happening there then is everybody goes, they put a dollar value on CFMs. So then all of a sudden, oh, we don't want to train with the breathers tonight, don't use the tank air, use this. Or we don't have anybody to go get the air. I mean, because that's the other thing. If you buy air from, let's say, Marshfield or Stratford, if they're nice enough to sell it to us, and you go there, that means your volunteer has to go and spend an hour or 2 hours of their time going and getting the tanks filled. And like in Marshfield's case, their basic hours of operation is about 7:30 in the morning till 4:30 at night. That's when they like you to come through. I mean, they will open their doors at other times, but that's when they like you. So if it's scheduled or whatever, that's when they want it. That's when most of our people are working. So I mean, you have the inconvenience with that.
What do they charge to fill a tank?
The little tanks had used to been, I don't know where they're at now, but I know in the past, I think they were around $8.
And what is this other gizmo gonna cost, 50, 60 grand?
Yes.
Wow. You fill a lot of tanks for 60 grand, man.
Also, the thing is if we have a fire out here though, and that's why a lot of other departments also have compressors, is because then you take the empty compressors on the fire, or empty tanks on the fire, you bring them back to the station. Sometimes they'll bring them back in the tankers so that they can be filled while they're filling the tankers, and you can keep a shuttle going.
We do have a mobile cascade unit truck.
We have a cold cast, and that's where, I know that this is gonna muddy it a little bit, But that's where they were gonna spend their 2% dues from this year, was to buy the 4 tanks for that, so that it isn't such a large amount of money in the capital improvement. So it was to try to shrink that down a little bit. Adam, you got anything you wanna add?
That just seems awful wasteful to me. And I'm not denigrating the fire department or that, I'm just saying, if you can get by with filling a tank for $8, and if somebody's gotta, spend 2 hours going over Stratford into Marshfield, they're getting paid anyhow, so this, when you say talk, you used the word volunteer before, there's no such thing as a volunteer fire department out here anymore. Everybody gets paid.
The volunteers only get paid on calls. They do not get paid to
No, but
wash
they're-
rigs, maintain the rigs,
They're still
anything.
getting paid, they're not volunteers. Look at the meaning of volunteer in the dictionary.
I got a question. Okay, so if you get that cascade system, and it's gonna be 6,000 pounds, so what happens to your 4,500 pound tanks? Are you gonna wanna get portable tanks that take 6,000 because there's too much pressure there, or can
No.
you adjust them
The-
to fill to 4,500?
Out of the Cascades, the idea out of the Cascades is so it's not at the same pressure. Because if you do not have a compressor to move the air, you have to have the tank that fills it needs to be at a higher pressure than the smaller tank with the lower pressure. The air moves through from the high pressure to the low pressure tank. And that's where it gives you some volume to be able to fill bottles. Yes, Dorothy?
Do Stratford or Spencer have a trailer with a Cascade in it? I know Wood County does.
No, I do not believe that Marathon County has any trailers. What most of Marathon County has gone and done, most of the departments have done is exactly what we have, and what Adam wants to upgrade here, is the bottles on the rescue rig. And that's your movable source. And that's also, with that being, we had went through, when we originally purchased the breathers, we went from, I believe, 24 breathers, and that would have been 48 tanks, down to 17, and then, what was it? Well, it's 2 tanks for each breather. And that's standard. Adam, do you have anything you want to add?
No.
Just curious, where are we on the agenda right now? We still on the fire department?
Yeah.
We're on trying to
Jump on
approve we're trying to approve the grant.
I'm still on the report.
Okay, so we can't make a motion to have somebody go after that because it's not on the agenda to approve for applying for a grant? Well, I can say that in the past, I felt that we've done this during these reports before, when this has popped up.
We have.
I don't really care, again, if we can go after the free money, we go after the free money. It's just, if we're gonna discuss this right now, there's a few things that come in. During the budget workshop, when it was brought up about the, somebody wrote it down, whatever,
Cascade system.
no, Christmas letter. Kurt, what was the, organization that we can belong to that does the,
Sourcewell.
so anybody check into Sourcewell to see if that's something we get into where they have, I don't wanna throw 3 irons into a fire if there's certain steps and directions we need to take to do this.
What is their deadline for the grant application?
January 15th, so you have plenty of time to put it on next month's agenda. They could even start on it now and then get the approval next month, because you know you're going to. So,
But if we
that
check
would be the
in,
proper way.
we check in the Sourcewell and find out you can get a Cascade system, if they've done all the work and get everything right, they tell you they can get you one for $15,000, but you have to do grants and apply and spend X amount to get this. What's the best route? We've had options put forth in front of us right now, instead of just keep running and jumping with something, we need to check in on one before, and start the process of elimination and stuff. You said that most municipalities, cities, everybody else is kind of included in that, and that's just.
Well, it's just a major purchasing outfit is what it is. It was started in Minnesota. It's
going through just about all the municipalities now. If you're a member of Sourcewell, you're getting best price, it doesn't matter who you go to. If they're part of Sourcewell.
And that wouldn't goof up your grant, because your grant's, you're not getting the compressor, you're just getting money to purchase the compressor.
Correct.
So you could still become part of Sourcewell and, I mean, and still utilize the
I
grant.
don't know what the grant application is like. Is there a dollar amount that you go after? Is it, you know?
Yeah, you put a dollar amount in there and then it's 95.5%. Township would be responsible for 5% and then you could get the grant for 95%.
So if you put in $50,000 for
Your
a cascade
chances of
system,
getting it are a whole lot better.
and if we are a member of Sourcewell and they can get us one for 25,000, you can still take that or go, or you
I
have
don't
to
go over that, no.
Okay.
I wouldn't push that issue.
Well,
You're saying to get 50,000 and then in reality, you're getting the cascade system for 25?
yeah, it's
Yeah, I
it's still
wouldn't-
95.5, and you know, I'm just asking.
Nah.
Well, I would assume then that if you could get it for 25, that they would pay 95% of the 25, even though you applied
Apply
for
for, yeah, that's good.
50,000. That would be my guess.
Don't wanna cut your own throat by putting wrong numbers down and getting kicked out because there's something different.
The million-dollar question is who's gonna apply for these grants?
You. I'm just
I
kidding.
can't read now, right?
I'm just kidding.
I knew that. No, seriously.
Says in the report the assistant chief will apply.
Yeah,
You
it
what?
said Lori.
Says in the fire report that Lori will apply.
Oh, okay. I'll just keep her off the ladder, Carl.
And if we wanna do it right, then it just has to be put on for the next month's agenda, and we can still go forward looking into stuff, but, I think we check our options with a couple of different things. And again, not against it, we get free money and do whatever we need to,
Okay.
So these breathers, are they compatible with what we want to, do they have to be like a certain type in order to work in any cascade system, or?
oh, we're not on that yet.
Yes, we are. We did that. We're talking all of
No, you're still on the fire report.
Oh,
The
okay.
next
Then I'll
is-
have my question.
Okay.
Well, I'll ask it. What Nicole just said.
That's on the agenda coming up, we're still on.
Yeah, we're
fire
not there
department.
yet.
Then I'll ask a different question. This one I've been bugging me for about 2-3 years. There was a guy that used to be on the fire department, and he had told us, my wife and I one time, that the ladder truck would not fit in 90% of the driveways in the town of McMillan. I ain't making this up, honest to God. The guy said this is fact. He said because of the wheelbase and the turning radius and all this other stuff. Is that true? Have you
No.
ever tried it?
We've had it in a lot of the driveways in the township.
What about the one where your wife piled into the cement thing up here? Get all that damage.
I mean, really.
No, seriously, I mean, it's just
Seriously,
true.
accidents do happen.
Yeah, we know
I mean,
that.
anybody here not had a vehicle accident ever in their life, ever? George?
Yeah, me.
I'm glad, I'm happy for you, I really am.
Rod,
Yeah.
you went down to Sugar Bush with that ladder truck. How many driveways can you get into down there?
Most of them.
Okay.
You don't know. You don't know, do you?
I have not taken that ladder truck and drove in or tried to drive in 90% of the driveways in the township. One reason we do that is the same reason that Pat doesn't back the dump trucks, or tries not to back the dump trucks into people's driveways. With that weight, there is a chance of some damage being done. So yes, we don't drive it in and out of every one. The back of that truck does have steerable wheels, so it gets in a lot of driveways.
Was it an issue before you guys went and got that repaired?
Was what an issue?
Getting into the driveways
No.
before? Okay. Because, I mean, common consensus has always been in the township that that ladder truck does not fit in most of the driveways. You can't get them in there. So that's why the question.
We've even been over in Stratford where they park tankers and
and engines right next to the driveway, and we've been still able to get it into the driveways. I mean, is it useful on every structure in this community? No, not the ladder itself. It does have another 1,250 gallon per minute pump on it. It carries hose, it carries LDH, it carries a lot of other things than just the stick on top.
It's good for parades.
Yes, Gary?
Well, I know they complained about the turnaround at the end of McKenna Avenue up there. Well, they can't turn around in there, how are they ever gonna get around them storage buildings that just got built?
McKenna does not have a turnaround.
Sure there is.
It's a T.
Well, yeah, but there's a place to turn around.
It's a T.
It's not a cul-de-sac, is what they're saying.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, we know it ain't a cul-de-sac, but it's still a place to turn around. And then the garbage truck turns it, backs into there. Mail guy backs into there. But like I said, they said a month or so ago that that wasn't wide enough to back their equipment into. Well, how, like I said, I drove by the new, and it's like,
Narrow.
that isn't, that's awful narrow there.
That place has been addressed and it has been looked at. The storage units.
Okay, so as far as the report, you're just gonna put for the grant application next month for that.
Okay.
Next.
Purchase order for the water softener.
What's this happen? We don't have one, we got one that's broke.
Well, we don't have one. We'd like to get one to soften the water, when washing trucks, and reduce our water stains.
Water softeners, everyone's gonna get rid of that.
Right.
Well, then isn't there maintenance to like salts and all that? Don't you have to put that in a water softener?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know much about water softeners, but I hear a lot at my house when Doug's gotta buy salt, so.
You have money in your budget currently for this. You know what line item you're gonna take that out of?
Not off the top of my head, don't have any comments.
Buildings and grounds.
Is that what it- yeah.
Yeah.
So
There's money in there for this?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just curious, how come now, at this late date, you want a water softener? Did the water go bad, or?
A lot of things on the fire department. The fire department tries to operate and keep as much cash as they can into their accounts so that if something happens, that there's money there to do it. Yes, so at the end of the year, that's when some of these projects get done.
Yeah, but you didn't answer my question, why all of a sudden now, at this late date, the fire, that's been sitting there for how many years, the fire station, now all of a sudden you want to do the water softener? Not that I'm against it, we got one in our house, but I'm just curious why all of a sudden, what prompted this?
Basically, the water, for some reason, seems to be getting a little bit more hard, if you will. It's getting to be more lime deposits in it, and we're having problems trying to keep the mirrors and the glass clean on the rigs. So we've had somebody come in, assess the water, and they figured that this would help take care of that.
Do you have a water report? You have it tested?
I don't have it, no.
Do you have it?
No, I'm
Ernie
gonna
has it.
thought I brought up lead with me last time we talked about it. Maybe not here, I don't have it with me. I just had the quote from Gaffney.
Do you only go through Gaffney, or do you guys go get quotes from multiple?
You got quotes from another place, but they wanted double,
How much was the quote from Gaffney?
It's in the papers.
1,850.
How much?
1,850.
Why don't you guys why don't you go get a hold of Aaron's Plumbing down here and see what he can do for you? You know where he is, don't you?
No.
Right, that's on, what the hell is it, Roman Road?
That's on Roman.
Across Galvin? Right across from Jim Seafer, where Jim Seafer lives.
He used to work for Gaffney.
Yeah, hell of a nice guy. I'm guessing he'd be a hell of a lot cheaper.
I'm curious, if it's for the trucks, wash the trucks, to me that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because you put salt in a water softener, am I correct? And then you're gonna wash these trucks with salt water? Cause I've
No,
always been told.
it softens it. I can just say with my water softener home, if I don't wipe my vehicles off after I get done washing them, I get salt.
See, mine on the
spots on it.
outside, my water faucets on the outside, there's no softener hooked up to them, not for outside.
Water was tested up north, and there was a $300 cartridge and filter that needs to get changed. I can get by once a year up north that took care of the hard water, and I can let a glass of water sit out and it doesn't turn brown anymore. So I mean, depending upon what the results were, it could be just some $300 cartridge. But I don't really care. If you got money and you want to do it, it is what it is. We're getting to the end of the year, and depending upon how the budget looks, we may or may not have money to pay all the bills at the end of the year. So.
Just because you got money left doesn't mean it's gotta be spent.
No.
And if you got a water softener, I mean, that gets recycled every so often, and that's gonna go in your holding tanks.
Now we're running line outside, so it's just salt water.
I personally would like to see the report recommending this, but that's just me.
You sell glass,
What was it?
you sell glass cleaner.
I'm just looking at budget wise, where we're sitting, how much we get.
Yeah.
Like I said, depending upon the end of the year meeting, what we have left over, you can easily just look at budget line items, who's got what, and you can designate money for that specifically next year with money left over this year.
If there is.
It's just, things are getting pretty late in the game now as far as I'm concerned. But that's my feelings on that.
Was the softener the only thing they looked at doing there, Adam? Did they look at an inline filter at all?
No, as far as I know, they just recommended the softener. That's what we were getting quotes for. That was already, I was heading that, so.
I mean, there's benefits to everything. I looked at a softener from North too, but it was just that they said that filter was gonna take care of everything up there.
Yeah, I had the same thing at my house. I just put inline filter in versus the softener.
The big one.
Big one, yeah.
Yeah.
$300,
Yes.
$340. Yeah.
The filters come huge, long way, so.
I guess I would recommend maybe looking, call this other plumber up, whoever he is. George?
Aaron Plummer?
Okay.
Good idea, really nice.
And seriously, ask him about an inline filter versus getting a softener. It might take care of it, because I'm literally 2 miles away and I took care of mine. I mean, the toilets don't get brown, it's water sits and it's fine, so. And I do have to agree with the end of the year and money crunch. Every penny we can save right now is a positive.
Does that filter work good?
It does.
Yeah.
I change mine twice a year though.
Okay. And it's $300 and some dollars.
$340, yeah. And they have different ones.
That was
I can
cartridge
get
and filter,
I can get a $120 one, or I can get a $500 one.
Mm-hmm.
This one, it takes 2 of the main things that my water has out of it, that's why I like this
Basically
one.
the red, that type of thing?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, day one after putting it up north, the water was just tasted.
Instant.
Yeah. It
Yep.
was.
You wanna pull it back, Ed, and bring it back next month, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Purchase order for the breathing air tanks.
Now I can ask my question.
Your turn to shine.
Are these compatible with what the future plan is for the Cascade system?
Yeah.
Okay.
We would have 4 on the truck, and then we would need 4 in the station for filling the station.
So you plan on purchasing 4 more?
So yeah, these 4 would be for the truck, and then the other 4 would be part of the other package unless we can get the grant.
Could you put these also on that grant?
You could, but we do have 2% dues to use for this year, so we're trying to figure out what we wanted to spend the 2% dues, the rest of the 2% dues on, and this would take up the rest of that, so that way we're in line with the state.
And this qualifies for the 2%.
Yes.
Motion to approve the purchase order for the breathing tanks, 2%.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second to approve the purchase order for the breathing air tanks. Any further discussion? Since there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. Purchase order approved. Treasurer Steve?
The accounts reconciled. Any questions?
I do.
All right.
So you brought up earlier, there is no cent for Man Road for next year.
Correct.
I was under the impression that we had money set aside for Man Road
No,
in our.
I see no evidence of that.
Patty said we allocated that money to Birch. So that could be transferred back into your checking account.
What?
Patty had said that.
There was, during the January of 2021 meeting, there was a motion made to allocate the 200,000 to Birch, to pay for Birch. Birch costs you 155,000, so there's, saying there's nothing left is not true, there's 45,000 left.
For man.
Is it still for Man then if we, if it
Well,
was
it hasn't been
originally
allocated for
allocated?
Man yet.
Motion to
You have to
allocate
find out what the
it was
end
just a
year
different
cash
vote.
balance is, and then the board decides in January what they're gonna do with
Yeah,
that.
okay. All right.
That doesn't preclude you from applying for the grant
Oh,
for,
right,
for
right,
man.
yeah.
Any other questions for Steve?
So why do these top 5 have a box around them?
Those checks,
Yeah.
they're old, it's basically been a township policy to decide to do something with those because they're old, outstanding,
Oh,
so,
so people just never cash their check and,
exactly. I think the 20-cent one there is property tax refund. And we're mandated by the system at least to kick that report out. And I wouldn't mind a board policy that says anything $5 or less we keep.
yeah.
After X amount of time?
No, well, once the check is issued, that's another question, but we just don't issue a refund for less than $1.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's not worth the paper. Future print on them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I don't know if we need a motion to add those checks back to cash, which is basically what we're doing. And it comes to what, $10 or 20, 50?
I got 34, 27, 36.
So you don't have to turn these in as unclaimed property to Wisconsin?
I never have.
Oh. I mean, not to 20 cents, but I mean the other ones.
Yeah, I'm looking at the other ones other than the 20-cent one. It looks like it's people on your roster. Would you like to reach out and make a phone call?
You can reach out to Tanner. As far as Chris and Brooke. They're not on the roster. I thought.
Deal with Lori, she might have the number.
All right, I'll see if we have the numbers and call everybody with my money.
I'll reach out to Steve Bradley.
Cash in 20 center,
20 center.
so it'll cost them $3 in gas for cash.
It will, right?
Is that Tanner, I take it he's a firefighter then at Key Michael?
He's one of our EMTs.
EMT?
Yep.
Is he still active?
Last I knew he was going to school, working a full-time job, so he hasn't been on any of the calls recently anymore.
We don't have to pay him mileage.
Well, it must have been recently, 10, 12, 2021, there's a check.
Well, he's got 3 of them now.
Or the one that was issued.
One's over a year old.
There was somebody that always had a check on here. Mom and Dad must be charging her rent, she's cashing his checks now.
She's learned how to do it online though. It shows up and.
Finally sunk in.
Can't go on that, so that's just gonna be sometime we'll have to make a decision. Probably find out what the legal aspect of checks, how long they're out, what you can do.
Yep.
I don't think we can just make that decision, that's something higher than what we want to do.
At least tonight anyway.
So I make a motion to approve the treasurer financial report.
Sure, I'll second that.
Motion to approve the treasurer financial report. Any further discussion? Once there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Okay.
There are 2 zoning permits issued for properties on County Road E and 1 on Stott. Sanitary permit issued for Quincy Lane. There was a notice of public hearing from the City Plan Commission for a rezone request in the City of Marshfield. Notice of completion for American County Livestock License application for amendments. Dual livestock facility license and 2 Marathon County uniform site address applications for Dragonfly Road. Your checklist contains checks 18622 to 18658 with EFTs 2021-51 through 52 in the amount of $110,742.61.
What's employers mutual casualty company?
That is the work comp.
Do we have somebody file for work comp or what, like?
No, that's your annual.
Oh,
To the state.
annual, okay. Why is our Dempsey Law Firm almost $500?
That was 3 consultations with the attorney.
Over a certain month?
In September, teleconference with chairperson and supervisor regarding subdivision. That was 2 hours and 20 minutes. And teleconference with the chair in October regarding open meeting notices. That was 0.20 out, 0.20 out.
I'm assuming Jerry Schmidt was for the fall festival.
That's the down payment for next year's contract.
Oh, next year's? Oh, okay. We get gravel, Bogart, is that what that's for?
Base course, yes.
So
And
the
Cumberland.
Marathon County Treasurer, the $11,419.75, that's for the culverts on Man.
Okay.
Bugard Trucking is, base course, recycled blacktop, and culverts from 2020.
2020.
Well, they need to be reminded to send invoices.
Jeez, okay.
So the total is $29,928.17. 26,000 of that is base course and recycled blacktop. The culverts that they did on Abe Lincoln and Man and Montgomery, they were 36 inch and 24 inch. I mean, you're looking at maybe $3,500 as the top amount.
Free is the whole thing installation. Not just the
Everything.
culvert, but that was.
Correct.
Yeah.
Titan Machinery.
I'm sorry,
Titan Machinery, $735.
Titan is the plow truck. Sorry, guys, didn't memorize them tonight.
That's all right.
The blade bar for the grass cutter, sorry.
Oh,
Where do we put all the gravel on
it's from 2020.
Wait,
that?
what?
Where?
What?
Where did we put all this base on?
I know Stod got some.
Stop, Cattle Drive,
Did Galvin get some too? Northwood.
I don't remember Galvin getting any myself. Did they get some? I don't remember Galvin getting any. Was that early?
Yeah, I think that was early.
Yeah.
Because if we're putting it all in front of Stoughton, I think we need to go after the state to pay for breakdown on the road. If the tractors are causing it, we don't get any tax dollars from the research farm. If they're breaking the road down, maybe the state can start flipping that, put some gravel back on there.
You want
I'm just-
where the gravel goes to be tracked by road? Is that, I just wanna make sure I understood what you were saying.
Yeah, if we put a majority of it on Stoughton in front of the research farm, then,
That's Drake.
or Drake, yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Future, if we have to do that, maybe, I don't know who at the state we need to ask, or just the research farm themselves if they've got something that way, but we're not getting any tax dollars out of that, and if they're gonna break gravel down, just on that aspect, then maybe they can help put some on there. Just,
Hey Patty, that Dempsey Law Firm, is that Lee, the attorney?
Correct.
Okay. And also, I'm curious, the Marshfield Utilities, is that, what does that include, everything?
Everything.
Okay.
Fire department, garage,
$447.
town hall,
That's
pavilion.
not bad. Huh? Right? Marshfield Utilities, $447.62.
Yep.
That strikes me as being kind of high.
Well, that feels even current.
not even cold yet.
No, it is, it seems pretty high, don't it?
Do you want the breakdown?
No.
There's town hall, garage, fire department, street lights, and the pavilion.
Okay, I'm just curious. I'm a curious guy.
Okay.
Here's one more I was going to ask you about. Victory Apparel, $300.
T-shirts for Fall Fest.
There again, I'm just curious. Okay, that's it, I ain't got nothing else. Oh, wait, I do too. Rival Plumbing, $17.35.
It's when they decided to dig up the internet to fix the valve on the,
I don't see any bill for Digger's Hotline, why?
well, they're free.
Kevin, you can answer that one.
I didn't know there was a line there.
Yeah.
They're free. Diggers is free.
You just have to
I know
go
that,
down.
I know that.
But it's also a private line, so they wouldn't have necessarily located that for us.
I'll bet you they would.
Chances are not, seriously. I work with that every day,
Why wouldn't they?
private.
On a private?
Yeah.
Christ, you see them, David's Hotline, over like when Jeff Thomas was running his phone line and shit, they actually run it on our property, and Digger's Hotline was out there, and they were, you know, putting those little flags and stuff that I ran over with my mower.
It's a private line, not that it's private land. It's private land, or private line.
What they do is they call,
It was a private line. I'm gonna argue with you, I'm right anyhow.
They usually mark what utilities run the
Yeah.
house or garage or whatever.
Motion to approve checks is presented.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve checks as stated. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Again, say nay. Ayes have it. Checks approved. pavilion rental rate.
Now, before we spend way too much time on this, you can't do it, because your fee schedule is listed in your ordinance, and according to the attorney, you need to amend your ordinance. You cannot change your rate as long as it's in there. I didn't see it in the ordinance. He said the only way you can do it is if you refer to a separate fee schedule, but your pavilion rent is the first line in that ordinance.
Yep, all I was gonna add to that is, checking with other townships around, everybody's at that $100 mark with everything else. Most other places offer a kitchen that we don't have, so it's just, is what it is. So no action on that.
Okay. Conditional use permit for Marco.
Motion to approve the Merkel conditional use permit.
Second
I'm sorry, Bob, was that you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a motion and a second to approve the Merkel conditional use permit. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Ayes have it. Conditional use permit for the Edwards property.
I'll make that motion to approve.
Second that one too.
I have a motion and a second for the conditional use permit for the Edwards property. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Also approved. Comprehensive plan. Adoption, part one of it is to the adoption of the plan by ordinance.
So the agenda is written according to the guide list that came from Daryl Landau with, what is it, North Central Regional Planning Commission. I get all the letters. He did confirm to me that his guide has actually 3 options, not just 2. One is approve it, the other is approve it subject to change, and we note changes, or you send it back to PC. He said if he knows the changes, he can change it. I need to make certain notes in the minutes, and he suggested not delaying it to go back to PC.
Well, some of the stuff that was in the email was basically the changes that they thought needed to be worded why put in, so.
Well, there's also an email from Dominic, help me with their last name, Lori,
Or Ms. Skimmons?
that person.
Say it.
No. And Dominic touched on the changes that the county had from that email. So if you incorporate, the only thing at this point that Daryl has and what we have from the county, what does the board want to change? Because Daryl doesn't know that, and I can't send it to him if I don't know it.
And if we send it back to the planning commission, then we have to go through a 30-day hearing again, right? And go through that process?
Yes.
Patty, didn't you say that the guy, whoever you were talking about, you said don't send it back to the,
He's suggested
not to?
not to.
Yeah, I have a question. If the people on the board want to send it back to the plan commission, what changes do you want? Because we approved that comprehensive plan. We sent you the resolution.
Yep.
It's been signed. You have to make the decision what you want. You've thrown it in the air like you're doing.
Yep.
And suggesting that somebody has to read your mind on what you're thinking isn't going to work. So Bob, what do you want?
I'm not suggesting we throw it in the air. My opinion on it right now, and one of the questions I was gonna ask was, you know, with the county's recommendations, I think we should approve it as it is. With incorporating the county's plan, or the county's recommendations in the email that they sent. I think after we've gone through all the discussions in the public hearings and talking with the county, you know, I don't have a problem with approving it with incorporating the changes that the county recommended in their email.
And that's your job. That was what it was given to you to do, so just tell them to do that.
No, I mean, that
I'm
was
just
one-
speaking for
yeah.
myself.
That's just one of the.
No, you as the board.
Chime in anytime, you, please.
Who are you talking to me?
No, the good-looking guy behind you.
It seems logical though, right?
Dominic, you have Lori's.
You're on.
Okay. I don't know that Daryl is aware of everything in Lori's email, because Daryl emailed me today and just had correct reference to updated county land and water resource management plan and correct legend.
Yeah, so,
And then there's two other items that need to be incorporated with what he has.
yep, and we actually sent this email to him as well.
Did you? Okay.
So I would say the bottom, and I can just go through these briefly.
Yep.
The one that I guess has the potential to, I guess, have the town board give some discretion and some opinion on would be the first one in regards to the 97 corridor being designated as commercial. I know in our email we had referred to or recommended that you keep it a little looser and just do, you know, potential commercial, potential mixed use or something like that to keep it open for,
No.
you know, maybe single family residential that might go in that area without having to reopen that comprehensive plan, but it still designates it as a potential commercial area. So that one, I think the town board could take a look at and see if they wanted to make some changes. The other ones are relatively straightforward, just being consistent with the description box on page 64, and then the map on page 85. Those classifications aren't consistent, just make those consistent. And then, like I said before, the exclusive agricultural district, I apologize if I'm standing in front of the camera there.
Please face the camera.
The exclusive agricultural zoning district does not exist anymore, so just getting rid of that classification on that future land use map. You can either put farmland preservation in there, or I know in the past we discussed just clumping general agriculture and farmland preservation just in agricultural classification. That would just kind of simplify things. And then the last thing was just creating a institutional or government classification, and that would be for like your town hall, your garage, and things like that. But like I said, those last three are relatively straightforward. It would just be the one addressing Highway 97, so that has, I think the board can discuss what they want to do with that.
And you said it was, what's the correct?
Potential.
Yeah, it could be potential. I know in the town's previous comprehensive plan, they had large swaths of area on the southwestern, western portion of the town that was potential residential. So that's something that is an option to put in there.
Because that would let them then build their houses and such, or get it zoned to build the houses in there and such. But yet, if they wanted to put a business, it wouldn't be that we're saying no.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to bring it in front of us.
Correct. It keeps it a little more open.
But it's still limited to what businesses they can
Under zoning.
Your zoning and our
And
zoning.
I think that's just changing that delineation from commercial to potential commercial.
Correct.
That's all.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't require any kind of a public hearing or.
I believe that's something that the board could approve with change with our comments.
So that's where I was at.
Okay.
So as far as the actual, do we need to address those specifically one-on-one with our motion to include every one of those specifically?
My minutes need to specifically state your changes.
Okay, do you want me to read off
Okay,
the
I
list
got
so
the
we
email.
have it?
I
or-
have that list.
Okay.
And I
So we
already
can't-
copied and pasted.
Okay.
So you could refer to the email that was sent on X date at X time by the county, and then just make that the specific recommendation for the commercial or potential commercial.
And we all have that email? I know I have one, but I don't think I ever got it from Lori that you were talking about. So I just wanna make sure, because I know we got the one from Jeff.
And
If you don't
a
mind.
lot of those comments are the same. I know we've sent over these a few times, but this is the most recent one. Like I said, the biggest change in there.
Right,
was
this is
the-
the last
This
one.
came from Lori, So they listed before, when it comes to the 97 corridor, it could be beneficial to change the classification from commercial, which is what you talked about, to potential mixed use, or even potential commercial.
So that you need to make a decision on the first bullet
Three.
point, right?
So we need to decide if we
So-
want potential mixed use, or potential commercial.
Correct. That would
Guys
be
have a preference?
along the 97 corridor. The second bullet point, just the way it reads, is a change that needs to be done that way. So is the third, so is the fourth. And then we've got Daryl's list from today.
So, to do this properly, to make a motion to include
To make
changes.
a motion
and
to
go through all
adopt
the changes.
subject to the changes listed in minutes, which we've read every one of them. I'm sorry? Unless your list, does your list have Carlson on it? From my president, or the, yeah, from Len Pres to General Ag? It should, but so the list of parcels that Dominic gave with, there should be Carlson, he's up. Section 9. He should be.
Yep, Scott Will Carlson.
Yes,
He's on
there's
here.
two brothers.
They're on here.
So that was one of the things that Daryl hadn't gotten. And I don't believe, so we may want to change even Daryl's suggestion to say that Farmland Pres includes the list from the county.
I think he said they're
You
doing.
didn't have school buses when you went to school.
Who you
trying to talk
Oh, do you want us to look at it?
My parents put us.
What's that?
Don, you got a
You'll
second?
email it to me.
This top list of parcels for rezoning,
That's from the town.
That's on the top.
There was, I believe, one or two parcels that actually overlapped, so that's the only ones on the total list.
Okay.
I think they're all related.
Gerald just made a note to that Carlson parcel from Farmland
Three
Pres to
sisters,
General
I
Ag, but it's on this list.
Correct, and this, correct, and then this would just be a recommendation for the comp plan, and if it's included in there,
Then
like I
that's
said,
the reason,
that's the
okay.
zoning side of it.
All
She
right.
lives in
Okay.
Rochester, Minnesota.
I agree with
So that makes sense.
Yeah. So what, you
On
want
top
to,
of what you just read, so
Yeah.
you're gonna make a decision on whether or not potential mixed use or potential commercial, and which verbiage you want for the 97 corridor.
Tom, I'm gonna ask a question here. What is the difference between mixed use, potential, and commercial?
Yes, so commercial refers to a specific commercial districts, you know, like neighborhood commercial, commercial. Mixed use is generally the combination of residential and commercial. So that's something that, you know, that keeps it even a little more broad. So like I said, there is, commercial is a little more restricted, potential commercial is a little less restricted, potential mixed use is even less restricted from there. But generally, that mixed use is a combination of residential uses as well as commercial uses.
And that could be on the same property as far as somebody wants to have a house and a garage.
Correct.
Or
But with,
one shop.
correct, but with that, I guess the only caveat to that is I would state that the commercial use would have to be consistent with the zoning district standards. So there would still have to get approval of possible conditional use permits and things like that.
Yeah, things have changed. Necessary.
Yeah, what is it?
We have to make a motion before we talk about this thing, or has the motion been made?
There's not been a motion.
Kevin's been working on.
Brought it up as a question.
Well, yeah, whether we have to.
so you need multiple motions.
No,
Just the one, the first one.
Motion to accept the comprehensive plan.
town board adopts comprehensive plan subject to the following changes.
That's what I said.
That's what you said. I thought that's what you
Really good.
Did you get a second? I missed it.
no,
I'll
I,
second it.
oh,
A motion in a second. Now we can discuss.
I would do the mixed use myself.
I'd like to mix these.
It just
Yeah.
makes it easier for the residents.
Yeah.
So it's just basically this, written line by line mixed use with,
Nobody wants to stand behind what they say.
What-
So
falls in line with our zoning.
Yeah.
Because Dorothy read off what our zoning was at the last meeting, very specific things that we would qualify him for, businesses anyways.
Correct.
Anything above and beyond is
Correct,
a whole nother.
and the town board itself has a unique power that's, I guess, unique from conditional use permits and variances, as they have the, I guess, the veto power when it comes to rezones. So if a certain, I guess, rezone is proposed in a town, let's say the Environmental Resources Committee recommends approval on it, and the town board recommended denial, that rarely ever happens. But the ERC cannot approve that petition as proposed, but only with a change or deny it. And even if they propose it with a change, the town can go to the county board, supply a resolution, and then it's just vetoed. So with this mixed use classification, it keeps it open to the interpretation of the board to have, well, maybe we want this type of commercial in this area, and we would be open to residential districts in this area. So with rezones, the town board really has a lot of power when it comes to final say with these rezones. So you can kind of clump where you want to clump those certain commercial districts, and even with like a mixed use, you can even possibly throw in like a light industrial use in there too. So it's one of those where it just identifies it as a mixed use, and then you kind of go from there. Because I know, if I recall currently, it's primarily agricultural in the existing future land use map. So that will allow for rezones and things like that. If I recall, I think even like the Peterson one belongs to that corridor as well, so.
Back to you, because I know you
I'm just trying to follow one conversation that says.
So do we need to
That's why I had to have this.
amend the motion to include the terminology or
No, you don't actually need an amendment because Dominic was just giving you an explanation of what the terminology is. You need to choose potential mixed use, and the third option was potential commercial.
So do we vote on the motion first, or do we choose
No.
first?
No, the motion is to adopt subject to the following changes, and we're just listing the changes.
So, you wanna do what?
Potential.
Potential mixed use. Aye.
Yes.
No, you don't have to vote on each one, we're still making the list. I just need to know.
We're just agreeing right here, so we're.
You have three
We are
options,
agreeing.
please pick
Yes,
one.
We are, and that's what we're doing right now.
Yes.
Potential mixed use is
Yes.
what we're,
Yes.
The first option in the email.
along the 97 corridor. Classification from commercial to potential mixed use. And then the descriptions on box 64 changed to match the legend on map 6, PDF page 85.
Yes.
Any discussion? We're good with that?
So some of these changes were just oversights as far as just,
The next one is exclusive ag needs to be agriculture because exclusive ag zoning district does not exist.
yes.
Yes.
I guess with that one, I guess you have the choice of just having all like general ag and farmland preservation just as ag, or if you wanted to parcel it off as farmland preservation versus general ag. Because I know in the current plan, in the legend, there's exclusive agricultural and then there's also general agriculture. So you could just have it all those agricultural classifications as just agriculture, or
Yeah, but not to throw a big wrench into all that. With our own zoning, don't we have different classifications within our own township zoning that is like exclusive ag to?
Yes, we do, farmland.
yeah, correct. That would all fall through zoning. Correct. So the zoning district map that you see there, that will still have the farmland preservation, the general ag and all of that. The future land use map just refers to a classification. That's why we don't want to get too prescriptive with the type of zoning district. And I know that was one of our comments earlier on, is if you have a specific district as a classification, that may limit that area for that specific district versus just saying residential versus LDR, RR.
Essentially what you're saying, I'll paraphrase what you're saying, but what you're saying is it's more of a broad brush
Yes.
with the term ag.
Yes.
And you still
On the
get,
comp plan.
correct, and you
Yes.
still get the same outcome. because there's still the zoning district map that has those classifications, or zoning districts.
So we're better off saying agricultural.
Correct.
Generic,
Yeah. Okay.
yes.
The next one is institutional government buildings added to the map.
Yes.
Yes, I would say, yeah. I recommend we do it.
There should only be one or two parcels in the
Yeah.
town that's gonna be classified as that, but it's just standard.
All right, and Daryl's list is, to add, change Carlson's parcel. And not so anybody's confused, that's, you got the zoning list, Daryl doesn't have that. Daryl just had an addition of Carlson when that was added from the motion that the board did. The city made some recommendations to correct parcels west of Galvin to match the cooperative boundary plan with the city. Add references to the city of Marshfield drinking water wells in the town and the airport height zone, update the city-town boundary line.
How does the airport
There's a,
impact
there's a height restriction on it within.
That's FAA. FAA governs all of that. The Aviation Administration will tell you exactly what the towers can be, what can be sticking up in the air.
And we don't have any railroads on it through the township, because it's really good.
Dave, is there anything
Dominic, does it, the descriptions in box 64 from the email, Daryl's list says correct legend on future land use plan map. Do you know if that suffices, or should I add this?
He might be referring to the exclusive ag and the institutional. I could be wrong, but I'm assuming that's what he's referring to.
So Daryl's list is correct reference to updated county land and water resource management plan and correct legend on future land use plan map. So the one thing, with making the change from exclusive ag to agriculture, then everything on that list that the town provided to the county would be agriculture, which would include Carlson. So motion subject to change should say, move it from farmland pres to agriculture, correct?
Yeah, it's just the terminology of the plan is more broad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Even though on this sheet it calls out general ag.
Right, but that's gonna be the zoning, not the plan.
Correct.
Dave, was there anything brought up with the joint plan on Friday?
Only in reference to a certified survey map that we got in our packet, and that was last week. It says the area is listed in the comprehensive plan for joint planning area as conservation-based residential. Policies and recommendations include conserve open spaces and protect natural resources through the implementation of conservation subdivision design. That includes development of density of 0.5 to 1 dwelling unit per acre, which we have a 2-acre minimum. Protect scenic views of the adjacent McMillan Marsh, preserve sensitive environmental features, provide a natural buffer from McMillan Marsh along Man Road, and the recommended zoning is ag, estate, or ag residential in those areas that we have the joint boundary with.
And the joint boundary roads are,
Pardon me?
the joint boundary roads are, there's this distance out, right?
No.
In our joint from the city.
Well, it goes out to Man Road,
Yeah.
and then a few other sections across on the east side of E.
it's to wherever somebody has asked to be annexed to the city. Jurisdiction-wise, Marshfield, because of the size of the city, has jurisdiction 2 miles from their boundary,
Yeah, I don't agree.
which takes them now past here because of B&H.
So from this meeting that you were at, do you feel that there's concerns?
Pardon me?
From the meeting you were at, was it on Friday that
Yes.
you're talking about? Do you feel that there's concerns? Like, did you see red flags?
Well, we had notification of a certified survey map in that area where an individual wanted to divide 2 lots into 3. We tabled it because it didn't come back to Plan Commission first of all.
Right, okay.
We got notice in our packet. Did you get anything, Patty, from Jim Greenland?
From Josh, nothing from Tim.
But did you get anything from Tim Breland and Andrew Berger was a certified survey?
No. I got it from Josh Miller. Lincoln Avenue and Spencer Street.
Correct. So you did get a notification?
Just from Josh,
Just from Josh, okay.
that Joint Plan is reviewing it.
Well, we aren't gonna review it until our local plan commission does. That's been the precedent. So we tabled it.
Okay. So it's not really.
Right.
Back
coming.
So we know about it, but it's not here yet.
It's in the mail.
We're having a do-over.
One thing on it too, for making the list, we have our list complete now of changes also.
I think so.
Okay. The other thing in there, I mean, it's a small thing, I know, but double check the addresses to make sure that they're the current addresses for the Marathon County addressing system.
You have specific changes, we're supposed to list the specific changes.
Well, I know that the fire department's still listed underneath an M number. I was not able to check and see if any of the other addresses were correct, so that's why I was gonna try to leave it with changing just the correction of the addressing system. It's in there though. It's in here, so if it's in here, then it needs to be.
So are you okay with update township addresses to current uniform address number?
Yes.
Okay, what else?
So do we need to sign anything tonight then?
We need to vote on this first.
No, because it needs to, you adopt with the changes, it goes back to Daryl, he comes back with a final
And that's what I
plan.
sign?
What? Oh, I thought I'm here, so I'm sorry.
Not yet.
Well, he's not there yet. I mean, he's almost there, but he's not there. He's been there almost there. So I'm sure he's reserving himself.
Need a motion then, Patty?
We have a motion and a second, we need to vote.
Okay.
No further discussion?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, say nay. Ayes have it.
Well, at least one of them's happy. Call Ruben, we're gonna open a bar back up.
Since we took care of the number one in the way that we took care of number one, number two does not need to happen.
Go ahead.
I need a motion.
Can we adjourn?
Adjourn.
Oh, make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against, nay.
Always fun
meetings. Ayes have it.
Way to go, Bruce. That's, if you wouldn't have said something to the assholes, I would have. But keep in mind, it's softened up.
And also,
I'm doing my part.
you were working for me as a site.
Right now.
I just thought
So once and then we go. Patience.